the Christian Wilkins release, and I've hinted at this at PFT. We talked about it yesterday.
Yep.
And the thing we have to factor into all of this is it's entirely possible the Raiders are just bungling the situation.
Right.
One little nugget that came out yesterday that was downplayed or at least not focused on the way it should have been, I believe, the Raiders commenced the process of voiding the Christian Wilkins guarantees on June 4. This stayed under wraps for 7 weeks. And I haven't done the math, but I think when he filed the grievance on Thursday, that was the deadline. That was the last day for filing a grievance. You have 50 days to file the grievance under the CBA. And then they release him on the day he files the grievance. Kind of like, you know, you could look at it and say, well, how dare you? Oh, this guy's actually going to fight our effort to void his guarantees, get him the hell out of here. And so it just creates this vibe that, and there are employers, sea to shining sea, who go through this. There's somebody we don't like, and we need to come up with a way to get rid of this person. And we may have some liability on the back end, but we don't care. Let's come up with the best way to get rid of this person. It just feels like the Raiders were just looking for a reason to get rid of Christian Wilkins. And that brings us back to the other incident that has been on the NFL grapevine, and no one has reported on what's been making the rounds. Josina Anderson addressed it on Friday night. We wrote about it on Sunday, but the details weren't out there, that there was some incident involving a teammate that may have been a factor in the decision to cut Christian Wilkins. So that bubbled up yesterday.
Right.
Because Shefty was on with Pat McAfee, and he said the thing that no one will talk about or that everyone's dancing around is that Christian Wilkins kissed a teammate on the forehead and the teammate was offended and went to HR. And look, that's not the story that's making the rounds.
No. And
the story that's making the rounds is not ready to be reported or explained because people are keeping their mouths shut. But the idea that a football player went to another football player and playfully kissed him on the forehead, and that player went to HR.
Yeah.
And that in some way contributed to that. That's never happened.
Challenge flag.
That defies logic and common sense.
Exactly.
What NFL player is going to run to HR? As a GM told me last night, our players don't even know how to go to HR.
Right.
They'd either handle it themselves in the locker room, go to the coach, or go to the GM. That's all they know.
That's right.
The idea that a player went and filed an HR report over a teammate playfully kissing on the forehead, that just screams, well, that's
bullshit.
A version that someone's putting out there.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. It definitely does. I mean, one, it could be what you're talking about, and maybe they're finding any way to void guarantees because of the rehab and the issues, and maybe they just don't want the player. Maybe they're finding that reason. Or maybe that the grievance to the HR is a little more, crazy than just a kiss on the forehead, right? In a locker room, a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of playful craziness that happens, but there is a line that people don't cross, especially, it's naked men around a locker room and all that. So, yeah, you could be funny and do all that, but there are lines that should not be crossed. And I think what you're alluding to, and again, we don't know, and the rumors around the NFL and the league is it's more than a kiss in the head. Let's just say that. It's more than a kiss in the head. There's no way, if anybody believes that bullcrap right there, that you think he kissed a guy on the forehead and then that guy went, oh, my God, I'm offended.
I'm going to HR.
I'm going to HR. I'm going to blow up the team because of it. I'm going to just ruin everything and make a big deal. Come on. I mean, if anybody believes that, then I got some other stuff I'd like to sell you. Come over and visit me here at NBC Sports, okay? A pot of gold here that I like $1 million in cash for before I give it to you. I mean, yeah, so there's
and it all happened last week.
Right.
It all happened last week, and it culminated in Wilkins being fired by the team on the day he filed the grievance challenging the decision to void his guarantees based upon this lingering dispute over apparently whether he should have another procedure on the Jones fracture in his foot. Look, this just feels like the company looking for a reason to get rid of the guy, and they had this other thing fall into their lap, or they were actively looking for it, like HR. Hey, anything go on in here? We're just looking into Christian Wilkins' behavior. He's been erratic lately, whatever they would say. And they stumble into this. That's why.
Yeah. I was just going to say, too.
My thought.
Right. And
Go ahead.
In some of these situations, sometimes, like, I just feel like you're saying, it's like maybe they do want to get out of it. Maybe there's already been incidents already where people were like, it's a little weird. And then finally there was the incident that crossed the line, right? I've seen experiences and things like that. We don't love this player. We don't like this player. He's a pain in the butt. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. He's always doing this. Oh, no. He crossed it finally. He went too far. And now we can hold him to language in the contract and the CBA and everything like that. And I just I get those feelings in my pasta and meatballs, like you say, every now and then.
And, okay. The reality here is Christian Wilkins is looking for a job. And the reality here is Christian Wilkins has representation.
Yes.
That is charged with finding him a job. So what do? You work the angles. You work your sources. Let's call it what it is. David Mulugeta represents Christian Wilkins. He's working Shefty to get Shefty to put a story out there that is favorable to Christian Wilkins. Let's just say what that is.
Right.
Let's put a favorable story out there so someone else will pay him a lot of money. That's how it works. That's how. And so why does the reporter do it? Because it pays off on the back end. For example, when Micah Parsons signs his contract, Schefter may be the first one to report it now because it's same agent representing both guys. That's the transactional nature of the insider game. Every once in a while, you eat a little shit. You push something that may not be accurate, or you let somebody tell you a lie that you put out there because you know they'll owe you one, and they'll make it up to you on the back end because that other stuff doesn't really get noticed and scrutinized the way it should. That happens. That's a game, and he's not the only one that plays it. They all play it, and it's one of the reasons why I don't. Now, with that said, it would be very easy for us to get to the bottom of this if we had access to the information. And if Christian Wilkins and his agent want people to believe that all he did was playfully kiss a teammate on the head and the teammate ran to HR, Christian Wilkins should authorize the Raiders to release, with redactions if the player doesn't want his name to be out there, release the report, release the investigation, release the documents that will show us what HR looked into. And it'll corroborate, if this is the truth, it'll corroborate it. And also, let's see the document that the Raiders used in the termination of Christian Wilkins. Because just saying he was terminated as a vested veteran, which was included in Schefter's report yesterday, means nothing. There's a box you check as to why. Injury, cap, skill, personal conduct that adversely affects the organization. That's your get out of jail free card, or get out of free jail card, as some have said. That is the thing that can get you away from the guarantee, because guaranteed money isn't truly guaranteed. It's guaranteed for skill, injury, and cap. You cut a guy for a different reason, you don't have to pay him. That's what the Ravens did with Earl Thomas 5 years ago. So show like, if you think that the Raiders are trying to set this up as another way to avoid paying the guaranteed money, we're already voiding the guarantees over the injury dispute and the rehab dispute with the foot. Now we're separately waiving him, cutting him as a vested veteran because of something other than skill, injury, and cap. Okay, now we see what the Raiders are up to. Now we see they're trying to engineer this outcome. So, again, these aren't things we have access to. These aren't public records. They only become available if someone leaks them to a reporter, or Wilkins could say, now the Raiders don't have to comply, but he could say, I want this out there. He could challenge them to put that out there. He could authorize it. He could say, I want the records that are in my personnel file, and he can put them out there himself. So my point is this. If your BS detector is going off as to the notion that one player kissed another player playfully on the forehead and that player ran to HR and that had something to do with the player being cut from the team, it should be.
Yeah.
The bullcrap filter should catch this one, because it just seems weird, and it's at a minimum incomplete.
That's right. I mean, $100 million defensive tackles who are some of the best at their position in football, who are being coached by a defensive head coach, and a team that does not have a whole lot of high-end superstar type players don't just get cut from a team and like we're going to file a grievance. There has to be more to it, and I don't know what that is. And maybe it is all to do with the surgery and the injury and all that. But we've heard stories. We know enough here, too. And we've been around the NFL long enough to know this seems like more's at play. This just doesn't happen every day in the NFL. This is odd. This is very odd to make an investment in that type of a player just a year ago. And then here we are in the first year of Pete Carroll, where he's going to want the defense to get off to a good start and the franchise look good under his, watch here. And to let go of a player like that, to me, tells you that it hit a tipping point of like, wow, we can't have him around anymore. And that's what'll be interesting as we, go through here and hear more and more about it.
And let me just say one last thing, to the extent that anyone cares, and I'm not sure anyone does, but I'm going to say it anyway. So much of the reporting in this space is based on one source. And for most things, one source is good enough. If an agent tells you that his or her client is signing a new contract and this is what it's worth, then fine, go with it, even though a lot of times the information from the agent is embellished or overblown. When in Rome, that's how it goes. For certain things, before you go with it, you probably should check with other sources. And I say that because Pablo Torre and I have been doing some work together as it relates to all this crap that's going on at the NFLPA. And, he'll have things where he's got 8 sources. And it's like, dude, real journalism sucks. Like, you really you have to check this with all these different people. And for something like this, and I guess the challenge for the people who traffic in the transactional stuff and go to Twitter and tell us something that is going to be announced 5 minutes later, there are certain things that you just can't rely on one source. And you can't just rely on the player's agent to tell you, yeah, all he did was playfully kiss a guy on the forehead. You got to do more than that, because you're putting it out there to millions of people. And I guess some of them are going to be dumb enough to say, "Boy, that sounds like it's true." But you got to do more than that, I think. And for something like this, especially because if there is more to it that may never come out, this may be the only official report of what happened. And I think that there are certain occasions where it makes sense to check that story with others who may know the whole truth.
Yeah, right. Favors being done, whatever it may be. But I would believe by the reaction we've seen and on social media and stuff like this, that most people are not buying he kissed somebody on the head and that's why they filed a complaint with HR. So yeah, it's maybe Shefty doing a solid for the agent, whatever. I don't know what it is there, but regardless, it is a odd situation. It really is, and yeah, I definitely don't believe it as it's being sold to us right now.
Look, I'm not taking shots. I'm just speaking truth. The record is out there. Shefty got dragged multiple times a few years ago because he was trying a little too aggressively to do favors for agents, whether it was defending Dalvin Cook, whether it was making excuses for Deshaun Watson. Remember some of that stuff?
Yeah.
And you got to be careful. You got to be careful in the favors you're doing for your sources. And we all know when it happens. Hell, we see, and my son was laughing about this last week. Tory Dandy jumped from CAA to Athletes First. And the usual suspects are tweeting about it and congratulating. It's like, your audience doesn't give a shit. Why are you telling your audience about these agents jumping from one firm to another? They do not care. But you know who cares? The agent who's jumping from one firm to the other. And you're making me look good, and I'm going to, and not that even, because I know Tory. Tory's not the kind of person who's going to ask for that. But hey, we got to push. This is part of the game. And folks, we're just here to be truthful with you. We know how the game is played. And it just feels like this Wilkins kissed on the forehead and the guy went to HR thing is part of the game.
Yeah, exactly right.
And if it's true, then that's fine. But it just feels incomplete. It feels incomplete.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to watch it. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.